I'm going to rank every Super Bowl of the last 10 years. Starting with Super Bowl 58. Where are we going to put this Super Bowl? This game went into overtime. Mahomes solidifies the dynasty. But I'm going to be honest. This Super Bowl felt like nobody earned the win. Does that make sense? Like, obviously the Chiefs won, but it felt like a mid-off. The Offensive Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey, fumbles on an amazing opening drive for the Niners. George Kittle's playing patty cake while the ball is live. You guys have seen that clip, right? Hold up.
Hey, George. George Kittle had a chance.
Hit him with the "Hey George" in the middle of the play. What sucks about it too is like George Karlaftis recovered the fumble. I don't want to sit here and dog on George Kittle because I love George Kittle. And it would have been nice if the Offensive Player of the Year didn't fumble. But my point is this game was so sloppy. Isaiah Pacheco then went on to fumble. Patrick Mahomes throws a dog water interception. Like he threw that ball to fucking nobody. And then the muffed punt. I think the biggest play of this entire Super Bowl was the muffed punt. The Chiefs cannot move the ball on offense. They punt it, bounces off some dude's ankle. Chiefs recover it on the 10. On the next play, they get a freebie touchdown. Like, if you're going to hand the ball to a team within the 10 in the Super Bowl, of course you're going to lose. It really just felt like neither team earned the win. It was who played less shitty, and the Chiefs in the end played less shitty. It was still a really cool game. I'm so glad it went to overtime. It could have been a lot worse, but I don't see this as an S or even an A tier Super Bowl. I'm putting Super Bowl 58 in Vegas in B tier because it was simply too sloppy of a football game. Super Bowl 57, Eagles Chiefs. I want to put this in S tier, but there is a Super Bowl that I think deserves S tier, and I don't think this Super Bowl is on par with that. So I'm going to give Super Bowl 57 A tier. Super Bowl 57 was awesome, bro. There's nothing you love more than a football fan than watching the over get absolutely obliterated. I think the over-under on that game was 54 or 55, and it was 38-35. So it went up to 71. There was a ton of scoring, and there was that comeback element too. At halftime, the Eagles had that 10-point lead. And interestingly enough, which I think is so funny, I think one of the biggest plays and turning points in this Super Bowl was the Eagles punt the ball to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs now hold the Super Bowl record for the longest punt return. Sorry guys, the NFL is total fucking cucks, and they will pull videos off of like the internet if you show too much NFL highlights. So I have to be very careful about what I show here. Yeah, this is the punt return right here. It's really the same with like the Niners game. If you muff a punt in the Super Bowl, you're probably gonna lose. Or if you're the Eagles here and you let Kadarius Toney take this ball 65 yards, you kind of deserve to lose. It was a hell of a return though. Shout out Kadarius Toney. It's just funny that in both of the Super Bowls, punts ended up being super important. And then obviously Jalen Hurts fumbled. I think people blame it on him a lot, but like you can't let up 38 points. That is so many points. It was an awesome Super Bowl though. I love the back and forth. Jalen Hurts honestly played really, really well. That deep huck to AJ Brown. Holy shit, it was so awesome. Super Bowl 57, sick Super Bowl. Love that one. Super Bowl 56, Rams-Bengals Super Bowl. I heard someone make a really, really good comment about this Super Bowl. They said this Super Bowl was kind of forgettable because nobody was hate watching it. And I think that is such a good point. People hate watched both Super Bowl 57 and Super Bowl 58 because they hate the Chiefs. And I understand why people hate the Chiefs. It's the same reason people hated Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. You get sick of seeing the same team over and over. You get sick of the NFL media covering the same players over and over. You get sick of the poster child. It's the same reason people get sick of LeBron James. The NFL loves Patrick Mahomes. He's got the dynasty. They won't stop fucking talking about him. It gets annoying. You just want to see somebody beat him. So you tune into Super Bowl 57 and you tune into Super Bowl 58. And you cheer on the Eagles and you cheer on the Niners, and damn it, they can't beat them. I understand that. Super Bowl 56, it really felt like there was no identity to this Super Bowl. I really didn't feel like that Rams team had any identity, and I think that's what made this Super Bowl kind of mid to me. It was the first year for Matthew Stafford, who they had just poached off the Detroit Lions in that big trade for Jared Goff. By the way, love Matthew Stafford. Everybody knows I love Matthew Stafford. They had signed a ton of players and traded away all their draft picks and basically sold out for 1 year of a Super Bowl. Their strategy was awesome and they won a Super Bowl, so clearly it worked. But from an NFL fan perspective, there's kind of no culture there. Like, number one, there's not a lot of SoFi Rams fans because SoFi was the new stadium that they had just built there. It felt like half of the audience of that Super Bowl was literally just like rich, famous people who lived in LA. So clearly the atmosphere was just not a football atmosphere. And quite frankly, Las Vegas was very similar. It was just rich people. You go host a Super Bowl in Detroit, go host a Super Bowl in Ohio, you'll have some fucking dogs in the building. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals, I felt like they had a lot of culture. I think a lot more people were rooting on the Cincinnati Bengals. And Cincinnati's not this huge market team. You always want to see a team like Cincinnati and Detroit, do well because they're the opposite of what Los Angeles is. Every player and their mother wants a Supermax to go play for Los Angeles. It's incredible weather and you're rich amongst rich people. Like, that makes sense. So I think the Rams not having formed this identity around their full team made this a boring watch. On top of the fact that it wasn't that exciting of a Super Bowl. In my opinion, it was a great game. This is when Cooper Kupp did the Triple Crown. So I think there was a lot of exciting stuff with Triple Crown. And I'm so happy that Matthew Stafford got a ring. But I don't know. People always talk about the NFL script and the NFL narrative, but damn, it's kind of real. Felt like there was no continuity. There was no script. There was no narrative for the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl. And that made it mid for me. I know this is an unpopular opinion. I think a lot of people really enjoyed this Super Bowl, but I'm keeping it in B tier. Super Bowl 55. I'm going to put Super Bowl 55 in the C tier, and there's only one reason I'm not putting it in D tier. The reason I'm not putting it in D tier is because Tom Brady switching teams and then instantly winning a Super Bowl is absolutely insane. But damn, this Super Bowl was not the best watch. I tell you what, though, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that defense was so unbelievably hot. And if you love defensive football, I'm sure you love this Super Bowl. But watching the Kansas City Chiefs, who are like touted as one of the greatest offenses of all time, Patrick Mahomes, the air raid, all this shit, just to put up 3 field goals. Like, to straight up not score a touchdown the entire Super Bowl. I don't know. Obviously, I'm biased towards offense, but gosh, you get all excited to see this Chiefs team and this offense and this duel. Really, it was the duel of like the old GOAT and the young potential GOAT going head to head. It would be like if you got to watch old Michael Jordan play a young LeBron James, and then LeBron James puts up fucking 8 points on 2 for 17 shooting and 4 free throws. That's what it felt like. So it was just disappointing. Tom Brady deserves a lot of credit for being the GOAT, but honestly, that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense and the defense coordinator and Bruce Arians deserve a lot of credit for that Super Bowl. That shit was crazy. Super Bowl 54. I'm putting Super Bowl 54 in A tier. So Super Bowl 54, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Niners. Deja vu. What was awesome, and this is why I'm putting this one in A tier, by the way. I don't know if you guys remember, but back then, everybody loved Patrick Mahomes. Everybody loved the Kansas City Chiefs, and they were very exciting. When you're good for too long, people start to hate you, right? But what was so awesome about this Super Bowl, the Chiefs are getting smacked. They're down by 10, and there's that iconic photo of the Niners defense standing in the end zone, all posing with, 7 minutes, 50 seconds left, something like that. That comeback was so awesome. I think a good indicator if a game is really good or if something was very iconic is when people actually know the play. Like, think about the Nick Foles, Tom Brady Super Bowl. What's the first thing you think of? You think of the Philly special, right? I mean, that's what I think of. When I think of Super Bowl 54, I think of Jet Chip Wasp, which obviously now is a play in Madden. And it was such an iconic, such a sick play where Tyreek Hill runs that basically post corner, very deep post corner, and Mahomes lobs it up there, and he catches it, and that was on like 3rd and 18. It was a crucial conversion. Chiefs scored their touchdown. They score another touchdown, and they actually scored another touchdown. An end run by, I think it's Damian Williams. And then they end up winning 31-20 to beat the Niners. Anytime there's like a late fourth quarter comeback, it's just such an exciting game. Honestly, especially at the time too, like I wanted Brock Purdy to win this Super Bowl. I was very excited to see him win a Super Bowl if he could have got it at 58. I would have been a lot happier about that, but I really did not want to see Jimmy G win a Super Bowl. I remember that game and thinking like, dude, he's so mid. Patrick Mahomes has to pull this off. Like, please. So I'm going to give that Super Bowl A tier. I thought it was a really fun watch, and then a late quarter comeback. Shit, I mean, this was the start of the Chiefs dynasty. We just didn't see it quite yet. Maybe some of you did. I didn't. Super Bowl 53 is up next. If you don't remember Super Bowl 53, it was because you fell asleep on your couch watching it because it was so fucking boring. It's cut off a little bit, but this is Super Bowl 53 right here. Super Bowl 53, hopefully you don't remember it, was Rams-Patriots. 13-3. Patriots win. Tom Brady gets a ring. You know the rest of the deal. Now, people always, not criticize, but people try to detract from Tom Brady's legacy by saying he's always been carried by his defense. I don't think that's true, but in this Super Bowl, it was true. Historically, I think Tom Brady is the GOAT, and he elevated his teams, but wow. This Super Bowl made me so mad watching it. I do get a lot of shit for this opinion because there's people out there who really do love defensive football. They thought this was such a well schemed out game. You know what I think this was? I think this was a Sean McVay choking masterclass. And granted, Sean McVay clearly learned from this, and you know, he wins Super Bowl 56. But that whole season, this was the season, by the way, where Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes had that insane duel, that like 52-45 game. Sean McVay was the young coach, pulled out all these crazy plays and was so aggressive and had this crazy high-powered offense. Then he gets to the Super Bowl and starts playing like a passive. He was so bitch-made in that Super Bowl. I was so excited to see a slug out, and Sean McVay like forgot everything that he had done the whole season, or the Patriots were just that good on defense, and they just schemed it up so well that they couldn't do anything. But to put up a measly 3 points in the Super Bowl is absolutely atrocious. Jared Goff was 19 for 38 with 230 yards and an interception. Brady didn't even throw a touchdown. Sony Michel had 1 touchdown on the ground. Todd Gurley had 10 carries for 35 yards. Edelman had 10 receptions for 141. This was the Super Bowl that Julian Edelman got Super Bowl MVP. I forgot about that. Honestly, he deserved it. The Rams did not score until 2 minutes, 11 seconds left in the third quarter off a Greg Zuerlein field goal. Yikes. Maybe you like defensive football, but this is a clear D tier for me. You couldn't pay me to watch that Super Bowl again. Super Bowl 52. Can we talk about just how sick this game was, man? You know, it's ironic. The dichotomy here is hilarious because Super Bowl 52 is the absolute S tier. Philly special. Look at this OG-ass ESPN clip here. NFL MVP in Super Bowl. Tom Brady can't overcome the MVP jinx. You know who did overcome the MVP jinx, by the way? Patrick Mahomes. He won MVP when he won that Super Bowl. It is interesting, though. You put up 505 fucking yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and you lost. That sucks. What a legendary Super Bowl MVP stat line that shit would have been. 505. When do you see that shit? 505 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's my goat. Foles, 3 touchdowns and interception. You guys ever heard the story that like Tom Brady won't shake Nick Foles' hands? Like he's absolutely so butthurt about this. Dude, he had Danny Amendola go on 8 receptions, 152. Corey Clement, LeGarrette Blount. These are such funny names, man. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, Philly special. This is like, if you want to get someone interested in football, like you want to teach someone about the sport, you just show them this Super Bowl 52, and they'll go fucking bonkers. It was such a sick Super Bowl. What was so crazy, this was the season that Carson Wentz was absolutely incredible on the Eagles. Like he was so good all regular season, and then he goes down going into the playoffs. And it's like, well, fuck, there goes our season. And then Nick Foles comes in and just whips his cock out and goes hard. Hilariously, and then just continued to be mediocre. Like the regular season after that, I don't think he did shit. And then he got like picked up by the Bears, and he was just a journeyman after that. I just think it's so funny the way he literally comes in, beats the greatest player of all time in the Super Bowl, and then just dips out. Yeah, Super Bowl 52, absolute S tier Super Bowl. Super Bowl 51 is the only Super Bowl that could ever be up there with Super Bowl 52. Also includes Tom Brady. Is that Tom Brady in 3 straight Super Bowls? Was he really? That's actually so crazy. And he won 2 of them. And he damn near could have won the 3rd too. What a fucking goat. Regardless, New England, Atlanta, we don't need to talk about this. I understand now. You know, now that the Detroit Lions choked that massive game to the Niners, I understand the pain that Atlanta Falcons fans feel. Like, I understand how painful it is to talk about this. So I won't harp on Super Bowl 51 too much. Everybody knows what happens. The Falcons had a 28-3 lead and somehow fucking lost. That's utterly ridiculous. It was an insane watch, though. You're watching that game the whole time. You're like, no way, right? And you keep saying that. You keep saying that for 15 straight minutes. No way, right? Until all of a sudden you're just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever watched. I think for anybody who's not a Falcons fan or a Tom Brady hater, that was one of the coolest things you've ever seen. But I do understand that a lot of people like are Tom Brady haters. I totally get that. At one point in my life, I was there too. So maybe you don't see this as an S-tier Super Bowl, but just zoom out a little bit. If you don't see this as an S-tier Super Bowl, zoom out. It was 28-3, and the Falcons lost. Like, did they choke the game away? Obviously, but the Patriots played perfect football that second half. Literally perfect football. They converted every 2-point conversion. That's what people don't talk about. They're going for 2 every single time to try and get this game back in, and they're always converting. It was perfect football from there on out. Although I will say, you know what the cardinal sin was of the Atlanta Falcons? They're snapping the ball in the second half with 17, 18 seconds left on the play clock. You know who the offensive coordinator was? Kyle Shanahan. Isn't that fucking insane? It's Kyle Shanahan, who then went on to choke away 2 Super Bowls with the 49ers. Not going to blame it all on Shanahan, but I will blame this on Shanahan. Matt Ryan snapping the ball with a running clock with 18 seconds left is insane. There should be 1 second left on that play clock every single time you're snapping it when you're up 25 in the Super Bowl. It was a combination of perfect football and a choke by the Falcons, no question. Super Bowl 50, Denver, Carolina. I have to use my same rationale here as I used for Super Bowl 58. This also felt like a mid-off. Granted, I think Denver's defense, this is when Von Miller was like the guy in the league. He had an amazing game. This was Cam's MVP season. I think when players or games just fall very short of expectations, this is when Super Bowls just drop down the list for me. This is the 15-1 Carolina Panthers with MVP Cam Newton, who goes on to throw 18 for 41, 265 and an interception, and most memorably, does not jump on the fumble. I don't know what happened. I'm sure he's talked about it, but how he looks at that ball in the Super Bowl and doesn't jump on is crazy to me, especially with how big he is, you know? And quite frankly, the Panthers defense was great too, and Peyton Manning didn't do shit. In the end, it wasn't a close game. There were a lot of sloppy mistakes, and I think people expected a lot more out of MVP Cam Newton. And honestly, people expect a lot more out of Peyton Manning. Denver did deserve the win, though. It was a cool storyline with, you know, the whole Von Miller thing, but 4 Panthers turnovers. Yikes. It's the same reason I gave Super Bowl 58 B tier is if it's a mid-off in the Super Bowl, that's not really what I'm looking for. Every single Super Bowl that's insane has Tom Brady in it. Can I put 3 Super Bowls in S tier? The Super Bowl comes down to the very final play. It probably should be S tier. But you know what's funny? I'm not going to put Super Bowl 49 into S tier. I'm going to put Super Bowl 49 into A tier. And there's one reason for that. Super Bowl 49 goes A tier, not S tier, because the reason it came down to the final play is unanimously agreed to be a gigantic mistake. Malcolm Butler makes the game-winning interception on the goal line because they didn't run the ball. I know this is like tired out. This narrative is tired. Everybody's heard the joke, but I can't give this Super Bowl S tier, even if it was an incredible watch, because they should have ran the damn ball. Marshawn Lynch was insane this entire playoff run. He was insane in the game itself, and the only reason I could think that you go for that pass there is because it's so stupid. Like, there's no way they would pass there, so let's pass, because it'll catch them off guard so much that it'll work. It's like when you run commit in Madden and then they pass and it's a freebie and it's like, damn, I really thought he was going to run the ball. Maybe that's what Pete Carroll was going for here. But I tell you what, Tom Brady puts up the most insane stat lines, man. 328, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. This Seahawks team absolutely should have won this game. It's crazy how clutch the Patriots are too. 14 points in the 4th quarter. Wow. Crazy, crazy, crazy game. Gosh, that one's got to be a hard one to swallow too if you're a Seahawks fan. Also, the same thing though. I have to give it A tier. If you zoom out, it was an amazing game, and it was a historic, iconic moment. Should have ran the damn ball. Guys, we have been blessed. Can we just talk about that? We have been blessed with some serious, awesome football. I say as we go talk about Super Bowl 48, which is probably the worst Super Bowl in recent history. You know, here's what I'll say. The Rams-Patriots Super Bowl, yeah, it was boring as shit. But that entire game, it was like, damn, if the Rams just score, this is a really close game. Like, if the Rams could get a damn touchdown, this is a great game. So even when you're watching Rams-Patriots and you're falling asleep on your couch, you're kind of like, wait a minute, this game potentially could be a good game. At no point was Seahawks-Denver Broncos Super Bowl 48 a good game. Literally from the opening snap, Peyton Manning, that ball rolls right behind him, and you're like, oh yeah, this game's gonna be dog shit. Oh my God, it was a dog shit game. Dog shit's maybe not the right word. The Seattle Seahawks utterly dominated the Broncos. They were clearly the better team. They clearly deserved to win the Super Bowl. This was when the Legion of Boom was like, oh my God, these guys are legit. So, if you're a Seahawks fan, I'm sure you love this Super Bowl, but for anybody who's not a Seahawks fan, you're like, damn, I was hoping for a better game. So I'm going to throw Super Bowl 48 in D tier. It can sit right there at 52. These two can hang out in D tier together. 55 is solely in C tier. Pretty boring game, but a cool narrative. B tier is all the mid-offs, and then the game with no identity. That's how I feel about it anyway. A tier, 57, 54 were amazing games. 49, of course, an amazing game too. And the S tier Super Bowls, both Tom Brady Super Bowls, 51 and 52. The insane comeback against the Falcons, and then the Philly special. This is my tier list for the last 10 Super Bowls. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think. If you disagree, you're wrong. And I love you. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.